Thank you very much for inviting me to come and talk to you this afternoon about WellFound, the water and sanitation charity that I founded in 2005. And why did I do that? You know, I stand here today and I'm in awe of you. I mean, I've listened this afternoon to the things that you've accomplished. And it's fantastic. I've listened this afternoon to not only the things you've accomplished, but those that you're going to accomplish. I've looked at the list of delegates. We've listened to speeches this afternoon from David and Mark. And I know that you gentlemen would never have got where you are today if you did not go to university. You did not graduate. You did not have a master's, maybe a PhD. And why do I stand in awe of you? Because I've got nothing, none of these things. I left school when I was 14 years old. I grew up in a Europe where bombs were falling on our heads, where incendiary bombs were falling in my family's garden, and my sisters were putting out incendiaries in the garden, where we listened to the drone of unmanned aircraft. We called them doodlebugs, flying overhead, praying that the engine, the noise would not cease, because if it ceases, then it will plunge to the ground with a massive explosion. So we would listen, we'd lie in bed at night, listening to the noise of the engine coming towards us, and we'd pray that it would carry on till it's over our heads. Then we know when it falls to the ground, it's going to be beyond us. My mother decided that I'd better be sent to a safer place. So I was a refugee. And then, at 14, I returned home. Left school, started employment. But I loved cycling, you know. I really did like cycling. And I started repairing my bike. I started repairing my sister's bikes. And I started renovating my sister's bikes. In those days, you know, we're talking about 1945. There were no new bikes. Nobody made new bikes. They would spent their lives making ammunitions. And that was no longer needed. So I started repairing bikes. By the time I was 17, I was repairing so many bikes that I didn't have time to go to work. So I gave him my notice. I handed in my resignation and worked full-time repairing bicycles. And then when I was 20, I elevated to motor cars. And because motor cars was the future. And in 22, I formed my first company and took on my first agency, Roots Group. Do you remember Roots Group? Humber, Hillman, Sunbeam, Comma. Do you remember those? It's going back some, isn't it? And then after that, it was Vauxhall, Peugeot, Citroën, and life was good. The business grew. We had a number of branches. We had a nice house, nice motor cars. The children enjoyed a good standard of living. And life was exciting. Hard work. Yes, I know it was hard work. But then you know all about hard work because you didn't get where you are today without hard work. We've listened this morning and this afternoon to some of that hard work. And then, when I was 75, I met a young man that was building houses in Romania, wooden houses, no larger than a single garage for mum, dad, 3, 4, 5 children. I said to him, "Why are you doing this?" He said, "Because they live in plastic tents in fields, made of shopping bags." What have they got in the houses? Nothing. What do you mean nothing? Oh, nothing. Oh, surely, no electricity, no heating, build a fire outside, cook their food on, no water. And he said, "Why don't you come over and have a look? It's not far, it's Europe. And I can afford it." Yeah, so I went over and had a look, and he was right, absolutely right. They would get their water out of a stream that ran past. And I thought, I can do something about this. I can afford to do something about this. Something inside me was telling me, "You've had a very good life. You've been very blessed. Do something about it." So I formed a charity to drill for water. Now, a friend of mine said to me, "I don't give money to charities." You know why? He said, because they spend all their money on administration, on cars, on eating out, and a percentage of it goes to the work. So I thought, right, what I will do, I will give some of my children's inheritance. When I told them, they took it very well. I gave some of my children's inheritance, so I put property into the charity. And I did it so that it cannot be withdrawn. It's in there. The income, the rental income from that property pays for all the administration costs, pays for the salaries. We only have a very small team in the UK. We only employ one person full-time and 3, possibly 4 part-time. So we don't have a big team in the UK. And we started drilling for water. And we brought water into 3 villages in Romania. 3 villages. We piped it into one village. We drilled wells in another village, and we brought water to 3 villages. And then Romania joined the EU. And the European Union started pouring money into Romania. They didn't need a little charity like us. They didn't need. Our money would be better used elsewhere. So I had a missionary come into the church, and he spoke to us about Africa. And he said, "If you think Romania is bad for water, you need to come to Africa." So I did. I went to Senegal. And yes, he was absolutely right. They were dying. They were dying without water in Senegal. So we put water into villages in Senegal. We put water into villages in Kenya, Burkina Faso, Guinea-Bissau. And now we've put water into something like about 80-odd villages. We brought water to 80-something thousand people. We built 15 market gardens, because now Dr. Kingsley, our new chief executive, is standing at the end of the hall there, and he has brought a more holistic approach. So now when we go into a village, we're telling them we're bringing in water. Once we've assured ourselves that they need us, then we have a meeting. We tell them this is a partnership. WellFound's big on partnerships. WellFound doesn't just give. It's a partnership. We play our part, you play your part. We will bring in the expertise, we will bring in the materials, but you will do the work. If you don't want to do the work, it's not a problem. We'll go somewhere else. But if it's going to be a partnership, it's a partnership. Because without a partnership, we don't have sustainability. And we must have sustainability. When we go, it's got to carry on. And what we have done and started in your village must grow. So, you know, I believe with the technology that we have today, I know what's happening in every corner of the world. I know how they're living in every corner of the world. I know that in Africa, they know that this morning when I got up, when you got up, before we came here, we either bathed or we stood in the shower, as long as we wanted to, of clean, fresh drinking water, and they can't get a cup of it to keep their children alive. They know that. So why are we surprised if they find their way over here? Why are we surprised if they go and cross continents and risk their lives doing it to get a sustainable life? Why are we surprised at that? I fervently believe that we'll use the technology we have in two ways. We'll use the knowledge that you have in one of two ways. We will either find water in places like Africa, bring it to the surface so they can grow vegetables, so they can feed their animals and live a sustainable life, or we use that technology we have to build towns over here, housing estates to house them when they come over, because they will. They will. Oh yes, you can destroy the jungle that you have in Calais, but don't be surprised if you find it in not too long, not too many months' time. There'll be one in Boulogne, one in Le Havre, because they will come. And why shouldn't they come? Because they were born in a land that didn't have the necessities of life. Why should they stay there and die? Why shouldn't they make their way over? So I believe we need to do what WellFound's doing. We need to find water for them. We need to bring it to the surface. We need to help them to grow vegetables, show them how to grow vegetables, to build up the animals that they've got, to make a difference, to change lives. Because once we do that, they're happy to stay. They will stay. I believe that they should stay. I know what choice I would choose. I would choose to stay in the country where I was born, to be with my fathers, rather than go elsewhere, providing that I have a reasonable standard of living, and my standard of living is sustainable. And that's what they're asking for. They're only asking for water. They're not asking for a pension. They're not asking for an NHS. They're asking for water. Let's give it to them. Why don't we give it to them? You know, with all the technology that you have, and we've listened today to HS2, fantastic. And yet we're still using the same pumps that were invented in 1970, an India Mark II pump, to bring water to the surface. A pump that the average villager can't repair. Can't you use the knowledge that you have to make a pump that is easy to repair? Is that so impossible? I don't think it is. I would ask one or two of you is, when you've reached the end, when you think you've climbed the ladder as far as you can, and you think it's time to do something different, come and join WellFound. Come and join us. Come and join me. Let's change the world. Let's make their lives sustainable. I want to thank you very much for listening to me this afternoon. I really do appreciate it.